Hi there, this is John Fairhurst. Welcome to my review of Simon Hawke's The Ivanhoe Gambit, published in 1984. I mean, really? Okay, I probably haven't owned it quite that long, but anyway. Unfortunately, it appears as if headline publishers didn't credit the cover artist either. If you do know who provided the cover image, please let me know in the comments. Now on to the tale. We open with one Lucas Priest dressed and armed as a local Roman legionnaire, where he has the job of facing down a charging elephant from Hannibal's invading army under the command of the Scipios. We're then taken a bit into Lucas's past, where we learn how he had got himself into such a pickle. Lucas was a volunteer. He'd scored high enough in his aptitude test to join Westerly Anti-Agetics, doing research into how to improve the efficacy of these anti-aging drugs. So when the army's dog and pony show comes round, he allowed himself to be inducted. After all, who couldn't take him a week's service? Of course it wasn't that simple. Yes, a week, but a week of service in the present. But a soldier barely spent a few minutes there before being shunted into the past. After being brought back into the present, Lucas searches out some old friends to find out what just arrived. So he decides to exercise his right to select his mission to join Bobby on his next mission. But will they live through the upcoming action? Things don't look too good. A small team of 4, Lucas, his best friend, a many times busted vet, and a green volunteer. The first bit of the novel goes into a bit of detail about the training sessions, but with a lot of this being done by implant, not even our intrepid heroes are fully aware of what they've learned, though they are given details of the characters they'll be taking on in the forthcoming adjustment. Lucas is the most obvious lead, the titular Ivanhoe, a Saxon knight coming home from the Crusades. His buddy Bobby gets what I think is the coolest role, Robin Hood, and Finn is his sidekick, Little John. Hooker, the youngest person in his quartet, is Lucas's squire. At last, made as ready as one can be, the little group is transported to the mainland and their hidden programming is activated, and they're sent off to infiltrate their way into society where their originals would normally find themselves to be. They thought that the best place to officially meet was the forthcoming Tourney at Asby de la Zouche. Misspelt in the book, apparently. It's a real place and still exists. See the link in the description for an English heritage tour of the castle remains. Ivanhoe was just wanting a suit of armour to take part. Lucas had a super light, high-tech version, so was sorted. Bobby, Robin Hood, was a noted outlaw, so he had to make his way more cautiously, but Finn would have preferred a more subtle approach than the one that Bobby decided on. But Bobby is soon invited, rather pointedly, to take part in an archery competition. Bobby's not too worried about his chances. Modern technology means those arrows in his quiver have advantages over his opponents. While Bobby's wowing the crowds, Lucas and Hooker look over the knightly combatants, getting an idea of what's going on and what their symbols look like. We're soon involved in a blow-by-blow account of the tourney in the guise of Lucas getting to know how his potential opponents, and an interesting way of showing off your knowledge of the subject. Though, to be honest, most of the non-science fiction elements of the book read more like an Errol Flynn movie than something lifted from a Victorian novel. Finally, it's Lucas's turn, and if Bobby had been brazen in gaining attention, Lucas is positively suicidal, knocking each of the Norman Lord's shields from their supports, announcing that he's going to take on all half-dozen of them. Strong armour and binoculars built into your helmet can give you an edge, but don't protect too well from lances, and given enough cumulative damage, even the most modern technology can fail. Lucas beat 5 of his opponents without injury, well, to him anyway, but that left him facing the almost as enigmatic Andre de la Croix. This proved to be a far more even match than either had anticipated, and Lucas was left lanceless as his own snapped. After several bruising passes, de la Croix was the first to collapse, though it was a damned close run thing. Almost before getting a chance to recover, Lucas was presented to Prince John and his bride and asked to choose the queen of the feast. Not wishing to cause offence by choosing a Saxon, he chose a young raven-haired maiden who he'd thought was Norman, but was in fact the Duchess Rebecca, daughter of Isaac of York. After that faux pas, Lucas retreats back to his pavilion, where the day only gets better when he finds the clearly dead body of his squire. It gets worse when the rest of his team, including the supposedly dead squire, arrive, including the supposedly dead squire. It's at this point we return to the science fiction-y bits, where we get an info dump on the nature of time travel and paradoxes. Personally, I thought this bit of exposition was way over the top, convoluted, though I did grow up on Doctor Who, so I might have an unfair advantage there. Now the team have introduced themselves, they go their separate ways as they attempt to trace the bogus King Richard and who'd kicked off the mission in the first place. Bobby and Finn make contact with the Merry Men, finding out in the process how they'd earned the title. It seems the boys in green are the terrors of Sherwood Forest for sure. Their drunken exploits are things of legend, just not the ones we learnt at our parents' knees. Nor is Maid Marian escaping an unwanted betrothal, but an equally unwanted marriage. Knowing her, Robin and Little John, she's sceptical of their story about their part in the tournament until Bobby demonstrates his skill with bow and guided arrow. In the background, our renegade is stirring trouble as he orders Delacroix to pretend to be one of the Prince John's associates in a raid on one of Isaac of York's little convoy in order to frame the prince's men. Unfortunately, Dubois, the supposedly chaste Templar, has fallen for the fair Rebecca and has mounted his own raid on the convoy. Lucas and his squire are also caught up in the fighting, and Lucas is lost on the battlefield when he receives a blow to the head. When he wakes up, he's in a rustic hut rather than a high-tech hospital, and faced by a bearded man in a robe. It's clear that his recall implant had failed, and this stranger was a deserter from the Temple army. Not someone Lucas would normally associate with, but needs must, and it did give him access to chronoplate technology. Desperate times led to desperate plans, and Bobby, Lucas and Finn arrange for a combined attack on the castle of Torquemstone from all the Saxon outlaws while they search for the rogue time traveller's chronoplate. Thanks to the tactics allowed by the chronoplates, mainly clocking in behind your opponent while he was attacking an earlier version of himself, the fight between the false Richard and Lucas got wild for a brief moment before the rogue got cut down by an accidental blow from the Sheriff of Nottingham. Read the book. With the rogue Richard dead, another false Richard is put in the original king's place. Unfortunately, Bobby had fallen in the time agent's assault on the rogue's lair, leaving just Finn and Lucas of the team still living. Still better than Finn had predicted at the start, though. Hunter, the deserter, has skedaddled, and Andre Delacroix, who'd been hiding her own secrets, also departed. Are we going to see these two again? So, this isn't exactly high literature, despite its origins, but it's an enjoyable read with plenty of action and science fiction elements to keep you interested. Unlike later entries in the series, this is pretty much a standalone novel, whilst acting as a hook into the rest of the series. And thank you for listening, for watching the video, and if you liked it, click like and please subscribe. Excuse me. Have you read this book? Comment down below with your thoughts, and I hope to see you again. Not read it? Click on the Amazon links below. This will provide me with a small commission without costing you any extra. There's a link to the remnants of Asby de la Zouche Castle as well if you want to arrange a visit at some point. Goodbye.